Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Damme and you are watching Flick Connection, and because it's Monday, it's time for the Flicks of the Week. So if you're new here, welcome, but the Flicks of the Week are where I tell you about all my top picks across all the major streaming services, and that includes the movie services like HBO, as well as my pick for the theater, my pick for a rental, a short of the week, all that fun stuff to keep you entertained throughout the week. But let's start this list off, as usual, with my Prime Video recommendations, starting with a really great little action movie from one of my favorite actors of all time, Kurt Russell, Breakdown. Now in this one, his wife disappears, their Jeep breaks down, and a trucker who stops to help them takes the wife off, and she's never seen again. And he starts looking for his wife, and he becomes more and more suspicious that people he's coming into contact with have something to do with it. And so you get this great sort of like reluctant detective thing, which I love that in movies because he's not a skilled detective, yet he's alone and he's trying to find his wife. And then, even though there's not a lot of action in the first half of this movie, this turns into an action movie, and it's really great. Kurt Russell's always great. Very, very rarely does he make a poor choice in a movie, and this is another great one from him. So if you never saw this one, yeah, it's a little old at this point, I get it, but it's a great pick on Prime right now. Another great pick from 10 or so years ago is Law Abiding Citizen with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. This one I like a lot because it's so different from everything else. Gerard Butler plays a guy who goes out for vengeance for people that attacked and killed his family. I know that doesn't sound different, but the reason it's different is because all of that happens in the very beginning of the movie, then he's in prison, and then things get really crazy. So normally, where you get this 90-minute movie and it's all about the vengeance, you get the vengeance in the beginning and then it just continues and it doesn't stop. And really interesting characters like Gerard Butler, I don't want to call him an anti-hero, he's definitely the bad guy, but not necessarily to you, the viewer, the entire time. It's just a great dynamic between him and Jamie Foxx, and this is a violent movie. I mean, it's for one that was made for mass audiences, this is surprisingly violent, particularly the scene involving the T-bone steak, but I'll leave it at that for now. If you want more Prime recommendations, I normally give you 2, but I just did 20 different movies on my previous upload. There's a link to that video in the description. The Rainmaker is on Hulu. It also happens to be on Prime as well, but if you only have Hulu, The Rainmaker is directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and a lot of people don't know that. It mainly stars Matt Damon, Danny DeVito, and Claire Danes, but Mickey Rourke has a small appearance, and this is just a great courtroom drama. It's really intense. It shows the entire process. It's based on a book by John Grisham, and it's really well directed by Coppola, and you just get one of many really great courtroom dramas. This one to me is up there with A Few Good Men, To Kill a Mockingbird. Maybe it's below those two, but it's up there with them. If you never bothered to watch this one, again, another older pick, but a great pick if you've never seen it. Now, thank you for hanging with me for some older picks. A fairly recent release is A Simple Favor, and I believe it's only currently available on Hulu. This one stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, and while this kind of is like a Lifetime movie, somewhat, it's really good. It's definitely aimed at a female audience, but me and my wife watched it together and I really enjoyed it. It's a good thriller. It's a little bit Hitchcockian. I don't want to compare it to Hitchcock movies because it's not that good, but it's a good new release watch. Twists and turns, backstabbery. You're kind of not going to see things coming. Good performances. It's got kind of a fun vibe too, like it's dark and twisted, but the characters in it have a little bit of fun with that as well. So this is just kind of a fun pick and an adult pick. Don't watch this one with the kids, but I enjoyed watching this one a lot actually. On Shudder this week, I'm recommending one of my favorite movies from 2018, and that's Mandy. Now, this one did not appeal to everybody, and I can totally see why, but it's just this wild horror odyssey with psychedelic elements, and it's just unlike anything else really. And the reason I'm recommending it this week is because this week, Friday night, If you're in the Atlanta area and you plan on attending Dragon Con, I will be there, along with a couple of other guys, all dressed as Nicolas Cage from Mandy. If you spot us, come up and say hi. There's no reason not to. But let's go ahead and move on, because I know most of you are not going to be at Dragon Con in Atlanta. On HBO this week, I'm recommending Mr. Brooks, starring Kevin Costner, which is a really great serial killer movie. And just like Law Abiding Citizen, this one's different. It takes place from a different point of view. You're kind of on the side of Mr. Brooks, played by Costner, and he is the serial killer. If you were a fan of the show Dexter, there's a reason to like this one. Dane Cook, oddly enough, has a pretty good role in this one, like not a comedic role at all. This is kind of when he was trying to break into movies, and I don't think it quite worked out for him, but he's good in this and like a limited role. And just, again, the serial killer stuff, I want to say it's kind of a crowd pleaser movie, which are never my favorites, but I did really enjoy this one. Another crowd pleaser that's on STARZ is Battle Los Angeles. This is a PG-13 alien invasion movie. That's almost all you need to know. Is it a great movie? No. But it's got some stunning, I don't want to say visual effects, because the effects are as good as they are in any other movie, but just some crazy battle sequences that take place in LA, on the beach, in people's backyards, in pools. I think the creature design is a little odd, but the alien ship, the spacecraft design is really cool, and it's got this kind of mix between Black Hawk Down and Independence Day. I do think both of those movies are better than this one in their own right. However, this being like a hybrid of the two still makes it a pretty good watch. And then we're going back old school again. I've recommended a handful of Coen Brothers movies recently, including Raising Arizona, Blood Simple, and this week I'm recommending the Hudsucker Proxy. It's currently available on Cinemax. It stars Tim Robbins, Paul Newman, and in classic Coen Brothers fashion, it's really kind of odd. And all of their movies are so different, but I think this one has the most in common with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Now, obviously it takes place in a very different setting. It's got a very different look to it, but in terms of the humor and the oddball characters and everything, I think if you liked Oh Brother, you'll really like the Hudsucker Proxy. And even though it does have a following, I do know this is one a lot of people overlook because they don't know what a gem it actually is. All right, on Netflix this week, I'm recommending The Rover, which I think I've only recommended once before, over a year ago when I was hiding out in my basement. If you want to watch that video, there's a link in the description. However, all the movies in that list are no longer on Netflix, but The Rover is, and The Rover is a really great post-apocalyptic movie starring Guy Pearce. And this one's different as well in that genre. It feels very real. It feels like we're just at this sort of the kind of in the aftermath of the immediate apocalyptic event. There still appears to be some militia and military presence, but people are really fending for themselves. Guy Pearce is just grungy and dirty. Robert Pattinson plays a really good role in this as well. This was right off the tail end of Twilight, so if you're excited for The Lighthouse coming out in October with him in it, this would be a great primer for that. And it is a good movie. Now, I have seen complaints for this movie in the description. I think it mostly revolves around people not liking the ending. My philosophy is even if you don't like the ending of a movie, you can still like the ride that you take to get there. If that's not you, if you can't handle an ending that you don't like, then off and don't watch this one. But I happen to know a lot of you really enjoyed this movie as much as I did. Also on Netflix, I'm recommending Olympus Has Fallen, which is another Gerard Butler action movie, and there's a reason for it. I'll explain it coming up, but Olympus Has Fallen is about the White House getting attacked. They had another movie that came out the same year where Jamie Foxx played the president and Channing Tatum was defending him. Basically the same thing. I think Olympus Has Fallen was actually better because it's just like an old school action movie, something kind of like Die Hard. Now, no, I'm not comparing it to Die Hard. It's not as good as Die Hard, so don't freak out on me, but it felt like one of those like good rated R 90s action movies with night fights and elevator shafts and real explosions and stuff, even though some of the explosions are definitely fake. For some reason, we got rid of real explosions in movies and I hate it. But Olympus Has Fallen was surprisingly good, and again, I'll explain why that one's on the list coming up. My show of the week is on HBO, and it is the Royal Gemstones. Season 1 just started. I've only seen one episode as of recording this, but this stars Danny McBride, Adam Devine, Walton Goggins, John Goodman. They're a family of super rich evangelical preachers, and it just makes for some really funny stuff. The first episode is an hour long. There's a lot of drama in it, actually. It feels almost like an hour-long drama that's just got a lot of funny stuff in it. I mean, if you find cursing preachers to be funny, then you're gonna dig this show. If you don't, then off and don't watch it. Okay, and my theater pick for the week is Angel Has Fallen, which is the sequel or the third installment in the Olympus Has Fallen series. London Has Fallen comes in between. It's decent enough. This one looks pretty good though, and it's directed by the same guy who did the movie Shot Caller, which I just recommended last week in my Amazon Prime list. Again, the link for that is in the description. I loved that movie. I thought it was great. And so to see what that guy can do with a really big budget action movie like this, I'm excited to see it. Based on what I've seen, I anticipate it to be maybe as good as the original. Hopefully they do something new here. There's not really anything else coming out in the theater. I know a lot of you have been loving my short film picks of the week. This week I'm going with The Gunfighter, which is a really popular one. It's got a ton of views on YouTube. I'll come back with a smaller, lesser known one next week, but this is just good for a laugh. It does have some adult content in it, so make sure the kids are out of the room when you watch this one, but it's short and sweet and really funny and really well produced as well. Godzilla and Rocketman both come out for Blu-ray and rental on Tuesday this week. I gotta be honest, I've got really no interest in seeing either one of those. If you want to try to convince me that I'm wrong in the comments, feel free. I will read them and maybe you'll convince me otherwise. If you do, I will let you know on next week's Flicks of the Week. And then finally, my video of the week is about Jurassic Park and why the original is so much better than any of the sequels. It has to do with the framing and the scale. It's really interesting at how Spielberg shot the original differently than any of the others have been done, and it works so much better with dinosaurs. Real technical, nerdy stuff, but if you're into that, you'll be into this. Check out the links to everything I just discussed in the description below. But that wraps it up. If you'd like to support the show, you can become a Patreon supporter like one of these fine people. There's a couple of new names on there today. So click the link in the description, go check it out, see if the benefits are worth your time. Just throwing a couple extra bones to the show can go a really long way to keeping this show running. But I will keep making videos like this one as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for watching this one, and you will see me on the next one.